Alright, so let's start talking about the Pythagorean Theorem and what this has to do with square roots. So, if we take a triangle, and it has to be a right triangle, so we'll make a right triangle, call it 3 by 4. So we have a triangle here. And remember I started off the square roots with squares. So I'm going to do the same thing here. We're going to make squares off of the sides of this triangle. So we have a 4 side on the bottom. So I'm going to make a 4 by 4 square. And on the side I have a side of 3, so I can make a 3 by 3 square. So we know a 3 by 3 square is 3 squared, which is 9. And a 4 by 4 square is 4 squared, which is 16. Well, the theory goes that if you make a square off of the hypotenuse, so I'm going to go ahead and make that. So now I got this square going off the hypotenuse. And the theory states that if you add your two smaller squares, it's going to add up to your larger square. So 9 plus 16 is 25. So our side lengths of that square would be a 5 by 5 because the square root of 25 is 5. So if we take any right triangle, we can start assigning some letters to this. So we'll say this is side A, this is side B, and the hypotenuse is side C. And remember, your hypotenuse is always opposite your 90-degree angle. So what we did was we squared side A, and we added it to the square of side B, and it equaled the square of side C. So the Pythagorean theorem, the formula you want to remember is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So let's try another one. So let's make this one bigger. So we'll do a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 8. Alright, so we have a 6 by 8 triangle there, and it's a right triangle. So the theorem states if I square my A side, which is 6, and I square my B side, which is 8, I'm going to get my C side squared. So 6 squared is 36, 8 squared is 64, 36 plus 64 is going to give me 100. And that's going to equal the square of my square off of the hypotenuse. So in order to solve this, I need to now do square roots. This is why we needed to learn square roots before we did Pythagorean theorem. So I have to square root both of those because the opposite of a square is a square root. So c squared square rooted is just going to leave us with c. And then the square root of 100 is 10. So we have a 6 by 8 by 10 triangle. And the two examples that I've shown you so far are called Pythagorean Triples. And these are good to remember because it's going to save you a lot of work. If you can remember these, you're not going to have to work these out every single time you have a right triangle. So we know there's a 3, 4, 5 and a 6, 8, 10. And if you look, in order to get 3, 4, 5, all I did was multiply it by 2 to get 6, 8, 10. 3 times 2, 4 times 2, 5 times 2 would equal 6, 8, and 10. So anytime you have this base of 3, 4, 5, you can multiply all those by the same number and you're going to have a Pythagorean triple. There's a couple other Pythagorean triples which I'll also go over in another video.